What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. I'm back. It's been a little minute because I had stuff going on. It's just my birthday, so happy birthday to me. Um, and yeah, it has been a little while since I've talked about anything Atlanta United, but I do have some thoughts now to discuss. Because for a while, honestly, a lot of my thoughts about the club has been the same as when I last talked about them, which is it feels like the club lacks direction. It feels like Boca Negra doesn't really know what he's doing. There have been a few changes at the club, and I'll discuss those as well. But it's still that part of the club, the direction, I guess the future of the club. I still have very similar opinions there. So if you're somebody who is very much like, no, you just gotta give them time. They're rebuilding. I'm excited. If you're one of those people that any criticism against Atlanta United right now, any talk of Boca out, Pineda's out, any of that like frustrates you or angers you, this video is not for you. This video is coming from the mindset of somebody who, when Atlanta United came in, I wanted them to be a good quality club, and not only are we just becoming an average MLS club, we've become a bad MLS club. And I didn't even want us to be a good MLS club. I wanted to be better than that. And we've just slipped into just mediocrity is the best word I can use to describe it. So I'm not happy with the state of the club right now, and I'm also not happy where it seems like the club is heading, which is, we'll just challenge for the title maybe 1 year, and then we'll, sit back, rest on our laurels, and then we'll go back and we'll try to fight for it again. I want us to be like, no, let's fight for it every year. The whole parody of the MLS sucks. Let's try to change that. Let's try to bring in a club and make actual good purchases that makes the rest of the league go, okay, they're here to stay. They're here to do something. Instead, what did we do? We came in, made some early purchases that made it seem like that's what we were going to do. And then after Tata left, it's been, okay, let's just go get some MLS guys. I'm sure we'll be fine. And it's not been fine. So, yeah, I'm definitely not happy with the club. I'm not happy with Boca Negra. I'm definitely on the side of he needs to leave. As far as, I think it's Lagerwey is his name. As far as he's concerned, I'm not really sure how I feel about it, because for one, he's coming from another MLS side. Darren Eales, I did feel like had sort of a mindset, because I think he had connections with Tottenham, so he knew how to run a good football club. He knew how to keep us basically fighting and being challenging and being one of the best teams. Obviously, that faded a little bit, and I don't really know if that was on him or on Boca Negra or on both. Maybe they just got very lazy after winning the MLS Cup. But it definitely felt like he had a good mindset of what to do to get us up to another level from the MLS. Lagerwey is coming from Seattle, where they're a good MLS team, but that's really all they've ever been. I know they just went and won the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League, and that is impressive. But first of all, that's coming after Lagerwey left, and also Pineda left the assistant coach position. So you could say, well, he's been building that for a while, but I don't know. I felt a lot more comfortable knowing that there's a guy coming in that has experience at a Premier League club compared to we got a guy coming in who's got experience at a successful MLS club, if that makes sense. So based on what I've seen so far, because I think he's been here since last year. I think he came in late last year. The transfers that we've seen come in and out, and basically all the stuff I've seen with the club since he's come in, it doesn't get me too excited. One, we're still sticking with Pineda, and I personally don't think that's a good choice. I think he's not going to be good enough as a manager. We're not going to get players coming in that want to play for Pineda. When you think about who did we have before? Well, we had Tata Martino. That's how we got guys like Almiron and Martinez to say, I want to go join that club, because Martino's a good coach. Nobody's saying, ooh, I can't wait to go play for Pineda, because he's nobody. He was an assistant coach at Seattle. This is his first head coach job, as far as I know. So nobody's excited to come play for this guy. So who are we going to get in that's exciting? Nobody. Young, possibly great players, possibly not. For every Almada you bring in, you also bring in a PD Martinez. So we're not going to get the likes of Almiron ever again if we don't have a manager that gets people excited to come play for him. So that's frustrating. The fact that we decided to side with this manager who doesn't really have experience, pull, or really any tactics, which I'll talk about the tactics a little bit later. The fact that we stuck with him over the beloved striker that, I mean, yes, he's dropped off a little bit since his injury. I'm sorry, Martinez is still way ahead of anything else we have at this club. He is. Every time he played, you just got a sense that he needed help around him because he's still just one guy. He's really good, but he's still one guy, and he didn't have that connection. We needed a coach who could not only bring in talent to work with him, but also find a way to make the talent that's still here work with him. But instead, Pineda couldn't find a way to fit him into the system, and instead of the board saying, look, he's still our star man. He's the guy that gets a lot of people in seats. He's basically the face of the club. You need to find a way to work him in. You need to find a way to fit your system to make him effective. Instead of saying that, they said, oh, you don't like this manager, this new bred manager that hasn't proven himself, you don't like him, you're going to cause problems in the dressing room because you don't like him, well, we're going to kick you out in support of this unproven manager. How does that make sense? And not only did we kick him out, we paid him to leave. Any club would have paid us. We could have made money off of this. If you are going to let Martinez go, you could have made money off of that sale. We paid him to leave. That is the dumbest transfer possible in MLS history. It's got to be. Obviously, I don't know much about MLS transfer history, so I don't really know how many. There are probably a lot of dumb transfers. This has got to be up there in the top 10 mistakes of all MLS time. Because how can you let your star player leave and pay him to get out when you're basically saying, we don't trust you anymore, we're going to trust this guy who hasn't earned our trust at all. Last season, he did nothing. The season before that, honestly, we were better off before he came in with the interim manager. And we're going to stick with this guy. So yeah, for the life of me, I can't understand. I don't know whether that was Lagerwey. I don't know whether that was Bocanegra. Whoever made that decision to trust Pineda over Martinez should be fired. Because that is a dumb-ass decision. So, there's probably my biggest problems with the club is sticking with Pineda, getting rid of Martinez. Those are my two kind of big issues. I do have some other tinier ones, but these are because I don't really know what we've brought in. Because our transfers are still pretty bad. We're still sticking with Lennon on the right side. We're still sticking with, Rossetto, Ibarra, Sosa in the midfield, hoping Alonso can come back from injury. We still only really have Robinson in the back as far as I know. And this is where it's kind of like, yes, but also we have brought in a couple players. I don't know much about them. Parada is just not good enough as far as what I've seen from him. Abram, however you pronounce it, I don't know anything about him really, so he could be world beater fantastic. I don't know. But it definitely doesn't feel like we did enough to strengthen our defense. We still have, you've got Lennon on the right side who's not good enough, and Hernandez who's even worse. On the left side, Gutman is okay, not great, and then past that you got Wiley who's still young and honestly more of a winger than a fullback. So we haven't improved our fullbacks at all, and that was a big problem for us last year. Middle of defense, Robinson might still be good. We still haven't seen much of him since his injury. Parada, in my opinion, I don't see much from him. He scored a couple goals for us last season, so he's good on set pieces on the attack, but defensively, I didn't see anything from him that got me excited. Abram, don't know. We'll see, the more chances he gets. But yeah, in the midfield, we also needed more change there, because we don't have the likes of Laurentowicz or Nagby anymore in there. We don't have a Laurentowicz that can be a bully and just basically a bulldog is, I think, the term that's typically used for that type of player in there. Nobody's that's going to go in and just win challenges, crunching tackles, read the game, and basically cut off passing lanes in the midfield. We don't have anybody like that. Ibarra might become that eventually, but he's still too young. He's still growing there. We don't have the likes of Nagby that's quick, get out of a challenge, turn, and go with pace. Rossetto maybe can be that, but right now he's still too young. And he's not clever enough to see what's going on, so I don't see enough from him to think, yes, he can be that type of player. So we've got two players that it's almost like they think this is what we need, and in my opinion, they're not good enough. Alonso, can he be that for Laurentowicz type? Maybe. From the few games I saw him last season before he got hurt, I didn't see much of that. I thought he was a little too slow, a little not quick enough to read the play. Sosa, pretty sure we still have Sosa. He didn't play in the game. He wasn't on the bench. Or maybe he was. I don't know. I don't remember us getting rid of Sosa, but now I'm not sure. Probably should have looked up the lineups and everything and our roster before starting this video, but I was tired and I forgot to. But yeah, I don't see enough in the midfield. We didn't go get any midfielders to help us out. So I feel like we're still too weak there. And then you get to the front 3 or 4, and I mean, Almada, he's going to be good. He showed his quality in the first game, 2 great goals, fantastic. But we can't always rely on him to pull off those world-class finishes. And honestly, it's kind of frustrating to watch sometimes as he's making a run and nobody's trying to open up for him. And some of that, I do think, we do bring in players like Almada, like Moreno, like Barco. We bring in those players that they are very much head down, run with the ball. However, it does feel like the players around them, they do get frustrated. However, you're still a team. You've got to realize, okay, he's going to make this run. I know he's not going to pass to me right away, but eventually, once he finds that space, he will pick his head up. He will look and see what's going on. I need to be ready to make the run then. But instead, what happens, they make the run first as he's starting one of his long runs, and then they stop because they're like, oh, well, he's just going to dribble, so he's not passing to me. And then he gets into space, picks his head up to look and see what's on. Nothing's on because everybody stopped. Everybody's like, well, you're just dribbling. I get it. I've been there. I've played with players like that they tend to just dribble instead of looking to pass. However, that doesn't mean you just stop working, because that's what he's doing. Because he is opening up space. He is making a run that's drawing defenders to him, which is opening up space for somebody else. And if he picks his head up and you did make a run and you were there and he doesn't pass it, then that's on him. But when he makes that run and he finishes and he looks for his pass and you haven't moved, now it's on you. So it just feels like there's not really enough connectivity in the front. And obviously there has been quite a bit of change up there, so that is going to be part of it, and that's not all on the manager. There will be some time while all of these new players are coming in. It will take time for them to start to gel and mesh together. So that is not on Pineda. However, with that being said, I don't think, even with these players, even if they start gelling and meshing together, I don't think there's enough quality up there to truly get the job done. We managed to pull it off against San Jose, but that's San Jose. That San Jose's not that good. And we're at home, too, and we had to rely on a brilliant shot from outside the box that San Jose didn't close down, and then a brilliant free kick from right outside the box. That had nothing to do with our play overall. A lot of the play throughout the match was very dull, very boring. Honestly, the energy in the stadium, you could feel just how dull and boring it was because that front four was not connecting. And again, it's because we didn't bring in players that are going to work well together in whatever system Pineda has. Again, I'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, Araujo, is he a wing? Is he a center? I don't know. He sort of moves all over the place. But honestly, I can't really tell what his game is. Almada very clearly wants to get the ball deep, make a run with it, and then try to make something happen. Get into the space, try to look for a cross or a shot or a pass or something like that. Araujo, sometimes he'll drop wide, sometimes he'll drop deep, sometimes he'll look over the top. I don't really know what to expect from him, and that can be good whenever you're the other team, but honestly, it feels like he's fooling his teammates as well, because most of the time they don't know what to expect from him. So he's got to obviously keep it not so predictable for the other team, but at the same time, your teammates do need to know what you're doing as well, and I don't feel like they do. I don't feel like they know what he's about and what he's going to be looking for. We had Wiley start, but outside of that, what do we got? We've got Etienne Jr. Okay, well, he's new. Don't really know anything about him yet. Maybe he'll be good. I do find it hilarious that we brought him in when we had Moreno, who was solid, Barco, who was solid, and then we brought in Mosquera, who I thought was supposed to be the replacement for Barco, but then we sold. Did we sell him or loan him? I think we loaned him out. So it's like we're bringing in all these wings, and then we just loan him out, and we bring in another one to replace them. Who's doing this? I don't really understand what the thinking is behind this. We have all these wingers who are solid enough. Aside from Mosquera, I don't really know much about him. But we have wingers that are solid. Why do we loan them out and then say, all right, well, we're going to bring in this guy instead? Is this guy going to be that good? Because from what I saw, he's okay. Not better than anything I saw from Moreno, though, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, don't really know what's going on with our wings. And then the striker situation is just all shambles right now. Because we've got the two that we have currently here, Conway, who should be playing for the twos, honestly, and then Barry, who's basically a failed MLS striker. He's still somewhat young. I think he's 24, 25. So it's not like he's aging and he's like Dom Dwyer type. But even Dwyer had a pretty successful MLS career when we brought him in. Not fantastic, but he's a decent goal scorer. Barry's nothing. I looked at his stats. I was like, who is this guy? He played, 34 games? 30-something games for Columbus and scored 10 goals out of those, which is not good numbers for a striker. He was loaned out twice at Columbus before eventually sold to DC, where he only played 14 games and scored none in that time. So we're bringing in this guy. Why? What do we see out of him that's like, yes, he needs to be our backup striker? I mean, Dwyer, what was his name? Cisneros, both of them, much more solid. Why are we bringing in Barry? What is he going to bring? And then we got this Greek striker who I know nothing about, but apparently instead of making sure we had a starting striker on the ready as soon as we were getting rid of Martinez, we decided to wait and wait and wait. And then we signed him, and now he's having green card issues. And it's like, well, if you hadn't waited so long, we could have gotten this done already. We could have dealt with all of this, and he would already be playing. But instead, we didn't make the transfers that we needed to early enough, and now we're dealing with, well, we got to wait for him. Well, this guy's not ready yet. And that's kind of where my biggest issue with the transfer specifically is that we had some players move on, some bigger, some, Franco, whatever, good, get out. We did have a lot of players leave, but we needed to fill those spaces. And it wasn't like, okay, don't worry, we're letting these guys go, but here's what we're bringing in. It was, we're letting these guys go. Now wait and see who we're going to bring in. Wait and see. Let's just wait and see. Yeah. Are you bringing anybody in? Are you going to bring anybody on? Oh, yep, we got this guy. We got this Greek striker. Yeah, he's going to be our next green card. Okay, just go. Oh, we got this defender guy in. Yeah, right before the season started. Here he is. He's ready to play. Almost. He'll start on the bench. We got it, guys. We got this figured out. That's my problem with the transfers, is you got to have a plan. You got to know what you're doing. You got to figure out what you're doing early, and you can't wait till the last minute to just say, oh, let's go get this guy. Because then you're going to bring in players that aren't going to be good enough. It's happened for years at every level, at every club. There's always been that moment where you wait till the last minute, you didn't get in the guys you need, you have spaces you need to fill, you go get somebody on a panic buy, and you didn't go and get somebody good enough. So yeah, that's my frustration with the transfers and stuff. Talking about the actual gameplay, because again, I was at the game. Again, it was boring. It was dull. It was I didn't even see the first the goal for San Jose because we got there late. It was just not really the same atmosphere. There was a lot of people there, which is good because the attendance last year I did notice was dropping a lot. So I'm glad at least that people were coming for the first game this year and they did manage to look like fill out most of the stadium. So that is good because we do need to keep the attendance up or else this club is definitely just going to down the drain. But the atmosphere was just not the same. I had 3 friends come with me, first time at a game, and I honestly, I was like, I'm sorry. This is not what it's normally like. Like it still had a little bit. The fan section was still doing their thing, but the rest of the stadium, when they did the Atlanta United, the United was like barely audible. It was like Atlanta United, and I was sitting on the side doing United. And I could still barely hear it because everybody else were doing their own conversations because they were bored out of their minds and we were losing. So let's just talk about, hey, how was your day? Oh yeah, let me tell you what happened at work. That's basically how it felt. Felt like a lot of people were there to watch the game, and then once they got scored on and they saw how bad we were playing, it's just like, well, let's just talk about whatever. That's not what you want. That's not what you want to do to your crowd that's coming to watch you play. That's paying to watch you play. But we were set up very boring. Very dull, knocking it around, knocking it around, knocking it around, knocking it around. Just no direction either. And it was really hard to tell how we were going to be set up. You know, because sometimes the fullbacks would make overlapping runs. Sometimes they wouldn't. They would stay back. Sometimes the midfielders would step out wide. Sometimes they would stay deep and be like another defender. It felt very all over the place. It felt disjointed. And that's kind of what I've come to expect, honestly, for Pineda. And this is what I was talking about earlier with his style. I don't know what his style is. I don't know if we're supposed to be a possession-based team, if we're supposed to be a counter-attacking team, if we're supposed to use our wings more often, if we're supposed to use fullbacks as our wings. I don't know what we're doing. It's not apparent by the way we play. And that, in my opinion, is either because he doesn't have an idea of what he wants to do, or it's because he's not communicating it well to the players about what he wants to do. I don't know which one it is. They're both very likely because, again, young coach, he could just be trying all these different things and just throw it up there, see what works. But also he could just be very bad at communicating to the players what he wants to see. You know, because sometimes coaches, they do have that difficulty. They're not very good at articulating, hey, this is what I want you to do. You know, they'll explain it to the player and it'll just, because they explain it just so poorly. So whatever situation it is, it's very clear to me that Pineda is just out of his depth here. He's not ready to take hold, as a head coach especially, of an MLS side. Might do okay maybe with the USL. He might do okay maybe I mean, obviously he seemed to do fine as an assistant coach because, again, Seattle mostly successful. But I don't think he's ready for the MLS. And especially a club like Atlanta, which has been, at the height of everything and then slowly dropped off. He basically took over at our downfall. You know, we were up here with Tata. De Boer started the trend down. And then Heinze really just straight down. And we were awful. Just everything from De Boer, the end of De Boer, to Heinze, we were down at our lowest. We needed a manager to come in and be like, all right, I've got the experience, I've got the know-how, I know what I'm doing, let's fix this. Instead, what we got was a manager who's like, all right, I'm new to this, let's figure out what we're doing. We don't need you to figure out what you were doing. We need a manager who's going to help the players and the team and everything there figure out what they're doing. So that was the biggest mistake in my opinion, and it's still showing. And it's been over a year now, and it's still the same. He's not figured anything out. He's not figured out what he wants as a manager, as for the team. It's still very much the same style of just no style. Let's just go out there and play and, hey, run around each other, make some runs, do this, do that. Maybe that'll work. You got to figure out what you're doing, coach. Because I can tell you right now, we play like we did against San Jose, against some of the better teams in the league, we're going to get embarrassed. Again and again and again and again. And that attendance is going to start dropping again. Because as the team starts dropping, people don't really want to come out. They have better things to do. Because most people are not there for the soccer. They're there for the energy, for the excitement, for the experience. But if the experience is... if the excitement isn't there, you're going to lose those fans. Because I'm a soccer fan, and even I'm sitting here going, I don't know if I want to go. And that's not a good feeling to have because I should be like, okay, no, I'm still going to go and support the team. But I'm not seeing what there is to support there. So, yeah, Pineda for me, until he's gone, I really don't think it matters who we bring in because I just don't think he's good enough as a manager to figure things out. It's just nothing that I'm seeing has convinced me that he's going to turn our situation around and get us back on top where we deserve to be. So, um, but yeah, I think that's about all I have to talk about though. I may have missed a few things because earlier when I was going through my head, I'm like, I want to hit this, I want to hit this. That was like 5 hours ago, so my brain's already kind of like, what were you saying earlier? I've already lost it. But yeah, it was good to get excited at the end. Like that was a good feeling to have the last minute double goal, double fantastic goal on top of that to win it. Like that's an exciting feeling, and it was fun to be in the stadium reacting to that again, because that is something that I've missed. We haven't really had that type of excitement for a little while, at least for the games that I went to and then the games that I watched on TV. I didn't really go to a whole lot of games last season because there wasn't that feeling. So it was nice to have that for at least the end of the game. However, I don't see this being a sustainable thing. I don't see those last, 7 minutes of stoppage time. I don't see that happening very often for us. Most of the time, the game's going to be put to bed by that point. The other team will have scored 3 or 4 because they're going to do more than San Jose did to really put the game to bed. And I just don't think they'll be as open defensively either as San Jose was. So, yeah, it was exciting, but for the future, I'm still very much thinking not much is going to change, not much has changed. So, yeah, I'm still up in the air about how I'm feeling about this season. I'm leaning more towards I'm not excited for the season, but that first game did at least make me think, okay, so maybe there will be a little bit of excitement. Maybe there will be a few games that'll be fun to go to. The fact that I can actually watch all the games now because, they did the subscription thing. I mean, it sucks that it's Apple TV because not everybody has an Apple product, but since my family has the season pass or whatever, we're covered there, so that's fine. But yeah, the fact that now it's available to watch every game, that does make me a little bit more likely to review games and talk about everything going on. But at the same time, if all I'm going to be saying is basically, yeah, the style, the tactics aren't working out, Lennon isn't good enough, or the front man, whoever it's going to be, the striker isn't good enough, our midfield's too weak. If all of that is going to be the same every match, it's probably going to dip back into I'm not going to be wanting to do reviews anymore. So we'll see how this season goes. Obviously, I would like to get back to reviews because, I did have a few people who are also Atlanta United fans who watched, commented. We had good discussions and stuff. So I do want to talk about Atlanta United. I just feel like there's nothing new I can say for the most part for most of the games. So we'll see if that changes. If not, though, I'll probably just do kind of a monthly recap type of thing just so I can at least keep up with it and not completely ignore what Atlanta's doing. So anyways, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the preseason and the first game? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Atlanta United talks, and I will see you guys whenever I see you. Peace out.